So my name is Megan Beckett. I am the Visitor Experience Officer at RSPB Burton Mere Wetlands. We've been looking after the Dee Estuary for about 45 years now, and the Burton Mere Wetlands is a little bit newer and is completely different compared to the salt marsh itself. So it's all freshwater. Over the years, the RSPB has bought different bits of land as we've gone on and created the habitat that is here today. So back in the day, the estuary would have run right across behind me. Used to be used as a shipping canal towards Chester, back out again. And then over the years, that got drained naturally and kind of by different companies, and different industry moved in, farming, etc. And when we moved in to kind of create the habitat that's out here now, that was all farmland. So just behind me literally was farming fields. So completely different habitat, not great for wildlife. So it's had a lot of change. The reed bed, for example, that was about 15,000 individual little reeds, which were actually brought from another RSPB reserve, planted in by hand. And now it's a really thriving, really dense reed bed where we get marsh harriers nesting, all sorts of warblers coming through in the summer. And then this time of year we have like great white egrets that like to feed in there. Sometimes when there's a starling murmuration, they go into roost of an evening, and there'll often be great white egrets waiting in there to pounce. RSPB and our Dee Estuary projects have been working closely together over the last few years. Lots of people come here as really hardcore birders or maybe photographers, and that's fantastic. We thoroughly include and enjoy those people coming to our reserves, but it's also about including everyone else that wants to come and enjoy nature. So well-being and nature just go hand in hand. A bit of nature therapy, that's what I call it when you come here. And like I say, you don't have to know what you're looking at. It's just about taking a pause from life and just appreciating kind of what nature is and how it can help us. So for me, it's part of that well-being stuff. So either coming here very early morning when there's no one else around and just sitting in the centre, literally watching the sunrise sometimes, that's just magical. You know, that's just those moments you can't really put into words. It's just being with nature, pausing for a moment. But the other thing is then being out on the marsh and watching a sunset. And you've got egrets coming into roost, you've got pink-footed geese in their thousands coming into roost. And just knowing that the work that we do is protecting those species, that really gives me a really good sense of well-being for myself, to be honest. So the other big highlight that I like to talk about is point of air on the Welsh side. So we manage the land out there, and particularly in the summertime, that's really important because we have little terns that nest out there. And that piece of land out there is really interesting, but also really kind of volatile in a way, because every single year, as we have winter storms that come through, that landscape physically changes. So the beach gets washed away and basically re-landscaped every year. So the team that work out there have to go and put out fencing to protect the little terns that nest out there. Again, every single year, put the fencing out, bring it back in. And that's a really interesting part of, I say, this reserve, because it's completely different habitat. People don't really know what's out there. A lot of people go down to Talaka, which is that area, because there's caravan sites and they just see it as a nice little kind of touristy spot. But once you engage with people and start to show them what's out there, it's really amazing how interested they start to get about it. And there are two sides, there's English and Welsh, but actually it's all connected. And that's the key thing, is that it's important for us to manage this entire area as best we can, whether we own it, whether we're just managing it, or whether we're working with other landowners and partners to protect that area out there, because it is so unique. And these sort of estuaries and habitats now are so special and so kind of in decline in the UK now. So yeah, for me it's about both sides being just as important, and because it's all connected, basically.
Yeah, I'm Dan Trotman. I'm the Visitor Operations Manager for the RSPB Dee Estuary Reserve, so responsible for all of the people engagement and spreading the word of the reserve and the RSPB, inspiring people to visit, particularly Burton Mere Wetlands, where we've got fantastic facilities for people to get closer and enjoy the birds of the Dee Estuary. The Dee Estuary, it's a really vast estuary, lots of intertidal land ranging from mudflats and salt marsh to some shingle beach up at Point of Air. The majority of the land holding we have and the reserve that we protect is salt marsh, which is really important for not only certain nesting birds, wading birds like lapwings and redshank, but In the winter months as well, it supports a great range of waders, but also curlews and black-tailed godwits, and wildfowl such as pink-footed geese and widgeon and pintail very much favour the tidal parts of the estuary. We're very lucky that the majority of the Dee estuary is served by a coastal path. So Wales Coast Path, where we're stood right now, has been in place for around a decade, and the England Coast Path was just completed this year. But that does mean that the vast length of the Dee estuary shoreline can be walked and in some places cycled by all members of the public, which is fantastic. They get to see the view you've got behind me and enjoy the fantastic spectacles of birds in particular that are thriving out there on the estuary. There are areas of salt marsh that are quite easily accessed by members of the public from the coastal path, and there is an issue for us of people walking out onto the salt marsh in areas that are under our management. We are trying to protect the marsh as a nature reserve, and yet there is still quite high levels of human activity out there, also popular with dog walkers, and we've observed over the years a lot of disturbance to birds, flocks of birds in the winter months being caused to fly away from pools because dogs, especially when not on a lead, will go chasing birds, just doing what is in their instinct. But dog owners can be more helpful and help us protect this wildlife by being responsible, keeping dogs on leads when you're in these wild spaces. So yeah, we just love more of the public to respect that and want to support our work as well.
So my name's Holly Peake and I work at Natural Resources Wales, and I currently work on a marine biosecurity project which includes work on the Dee. So we have a big project where we are creating biosecurity plans for sites all the way around Wales, and we're doing this with APEM Consultancy, and for the Dee we're also working with Natural England because it's a cross-border site. So very excitingly, soon we will have a biosecurity plan for the Dee in collaboration with Natural England. Biosecurity is methods in which you can prevent the introduction of invasive species. So an example of that would be if you're a paddleboarder and you go for a bit of a jaunt on the River Dee. When you get out, you need to clean your kit and dry it before you move on to the next site. Because if you don't do that, sometimes you can take invasive species that you will find on the Dee to the other site, and some of these species are microscopic or they're little fragments, so you can't really see them with your bare eyes. So it's really important to make sure that all your kit is clean before then going on to have another adventure. Working together has been really good. Obviously there's a Welsh side and an English side, but invasive species don't abide by that. So working together has made sure that the actions that we've suggested work for everyone and that people are talking, and we really hope that going forward we'll work together more to put more actions in place and to work on the Dee together rather than separately.
Hi, I'm Neil Smith. I'm a Senior Conservation Officer with Natural Resources Wales. My job is primarily to do with the nature conservation aspects of various habitats and species in Wales. And the Dee estuary is an area that I cover. The Dee straddles both the English and the Welsh border, so there are certain things that are regulated in Wales only, certain things that are regulated in England only, and most of it is sort of regulated as a whole, but because there are different bodies in both countries through the devolved powers to Wales, I think there's a perception that we don't talk to each other across the boundary, and because basically the habitats and the species that are there don't know there's two different countries. Basically they just want to carry on, fulfill their life cycle, off they go, so to speak. So they don't recognise national borders, if you like, but it's something us humans do, isn't it, to try and separate things out. Yeah.
My name is Dawn Beach and I'm the Senior Dee Conservancy Advisor for Natural Resources Wales. I work with a harbour master and a marine engineer, And our main duty as the Harbour Authority is to mark the main channel through the estuary to make sure that users are safe. So that's our commercial fishermen, recreational boaters, and other larger crafts as well that occasionally come into the estuary. I guess most importantly, the project has given all of the organisations involved a way of engaging with members of the public, which it doesn't usually have time or resource to do. It wants to do it, but we've got statutory legal work that we need to keep doing, and so this project has enabled us to make those contacts. Yeah, so that's where I see our estuary's strengths. I would love to see more people on the estuary. We have to be really careful how we do that because it is dangerous. But I would love to see, whether it's a partial kind of ferry service, whether it's a boat rides for members of the public that you can pay and go out on the estuary, because there's a lot of people that live near the estuary that have kind of possibly been near it but never on it. And yeah, it opens up possibilities, that there are careers on the water that local kids might not really have factored in because they've not been able to kind of experience that. So that's one of my wishes for the future, as well as working more coherently across that England and Wales border. And I think the Tidal D partnership and the RD Estuary project are doing great work to make sure that happens.